Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Unzipped Lips. I am your hostess, Mary Freshwater, and I'm also the creator and founder of the program Build You. I am super grateful to be recording this and bringing it to everyone today. Friends and family know that I have been wanting to do this for years. So I am just grateful to finally have the opportunity to do that. But the first thing I want to talk about and dive right in is the name of the podcast. The biggest reason why it's called Unzipped Lips is because at some point in our lives, we have all felt like we could not speak our truth or of what was happening to us. Whether it was an event that was occurring, internal conflict, unpopular decisions, the list really goes on. What held us back from expressing ourselves could have been shame, hurt, or to be honest, someone else taking our voice away. But the silence is not where we should be living. It's time to break those chains and cut those cords in a healthy manner and find our voice so we can find healing and growth. And I am not a licensed therapist. I am a certified neuroscience trauma informed life coach. Yes, that is a mouthful. But not only am I that, I'm also someone who has been right there with you. I was silenced. There's times I was not allowed to speak. As a child, I was taught by my parents that it was a family secret and we don't talk about this. As everything was happening in the home, I was silenced. I was told that we can't speak of this. That started as a child and moved into my adulthood until I was 32 years old when I was sitting at Maroon Bells National Park and realized I had a lifestyle of abuse I wanted out of. I had to start speaking my truth. I had to start speaking about what was happening and what had happened. And, I'm not the only one because for far too long, we have been taught this to tuck our truth away, to swallow the words, to keep the peace, to suffer in silence. And that is what I'm ending here. The narrative needs to change because this culture of silence that our society keeps teaching us, it needs to end. Otherwise, we stay stuck in the pain and in the past. Every time we hear, don't talk about that, it takes our voice away. And women, we're told, don't talk about that because, you kind of did it to yourself, right? Or that was your fault. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, but someone else's actions is not your fault. You do need to talk about that. And don't get me started with men. Men have been told they have no voice since they were boys. They were told that that is a female experience, not a man experience. I'm sorry, but abuse is a human experience. Sadly, none of us get through this life unscathed with that. So I'm sorry, but men do hold more silence than women. They have a higher suicide rate because they are told that they do not go through these experiences. They're very much not allowed to talk about it. They're told even more so, don't talk about that. The statistics for men and abuse is so far off because they're not allowed to talk about it. Now tell me, how is that right? They are trapped in pain and silence. And it starts as a child when our parents tell us, oh, you're just fine, and shrug us off. Oh, you'd stop being a crybaby and shrug us off. Sometimes, yeah, you got a bratty kid. Deal with it. But when a child isn't being honored and told, you got this, and helped through it and understanding what a voice is and how to use our words and how to express their emotions, they get trapped in the silence as well. Hearing I'm just fine or you're just fine, that's not right. Because our culture keeps perpetuating this stigma to be strong is to be silent. Why is that? Why is to be strong is to be silent? To be silent is silently dying. You die inside. You get trapped in the pain, you get trapped in the trauma, and you get trapped in everything that's happened to you. You don't get to come forward and move forward when you're being strong. And with that mentality, it also shows up with the vulnerability is weakness. I'm sorry, what? Since when is vulnerability weakness? I'm sorry, it takes more strength to be rejected because you're being vulnerable than it is to be not vulnerable, and stay hidden. That's easier to do, by far easier to do. That is weakness. Vulnerability is not weakness, it shows your strength. So when we look at all of this, when we look at our childhood, into relationships, into professional environments, there's a time and the place for all of it. But at the same time, silence isn't key. Some of the best leaders are some of the best speakers because they've learned not to suppress their pain, their truth. They come from a place of healing because they have a voice. And they're not scared to show it. One of the best leaders I have ever had showed more emotion and kindness than any other leader I've ever seen. Led some of the most successful sales teams while he was vulnerable. How does that happen? That's not the right stigma. That's not what society's taught us. Because from a young age, we're taught our emotions are a burden and that no one wants to hear our struggles. That violence and trauma and depression we endure but are hidden. Yet this leader showed his vulnerability of pain and violence and what he was enduring. Made him stronger, made him a better leader. So this is why Unzipped Lips exists, is because I want to challenge the narrative of silence is strength. That silence is this great almighty thing, because at the end of the day, that is not the right narrative. The true, real narrative of silence is it is shame, guilt, fear. It is a stigma that traps us and gets us stuck. Why aren't we speaking up against that? I want to use this platform to be able to challenge that narrative, challenge the narratives that we are lying to ourselves about because we are silenced. So when we think about this, why are we silent? What happened? Who took our voice? Is it shame, fear, guilt, sadness? Your past is weighing on you because it doesn't know where to go. When you don't talk about it, it lives in you. So let this be a place where we can talk. Let this be where we no longer have our lips closed. We speak our truth that was silenced too long, that has been hurting us for far too long. Let's challenge the belief that silence is strength, because it is not. Instead, let's find the power of speaking out and speaking up. So then that way we can find healing. Healing is an amazing journey. It does not happen overnight, but it comes in time. Healing allows us to be expressive, reflective, and responsive, and not repressed. Healing allows us to have a voice, to speak with confidence, to know who we are, to know our story, to speak our story clearly. And when we have that, true healing continues. So when you start to heal, you start to realize there are two ways that a challenge lives within us. Either a challenge is going to cause a reaction or a response. And when you're challenged, this shows how long and where you are in healing. When you come from a pain in your past, you're reacting. So when you're reacting, you have a quick emotional response and there's no knee-jerk reaction and there's no sense to what's happening. You're reacting. It overcomes you and you just come at somebody. You're triggered. That's because you're not healed. You're living in your pain and in your past. And when you're not able to speak your truth and be able to release that, you sit in it and you live in it. But now when you're challenged and it provokes a thought and reflection, and you're kind of like, what? You're coming from a place of responding. You're able to comprehend what's being said instead of, so it comes with a different mentality. And, let this be a place where you're being shown where you're at. Let this be a mirror. It's okay to react. The question is, why? Why are you reacting? Where is it coming from? What emotions is it provoking? Because honestly, if you're sitting in your car and I am saying something that is making you lose your crap and you're screaming and shaking your wheel because there's a reaction happening in you, I challenge you to stop and figure out why. Why are you having that reaction? What emotions are coming up? And talk about it so you can find healing, because those emotions, pay attention to them. The ones that are reacting when someone challenges you, pay attention to them. They are showing you where your wounds are and where you need healing. So now you can respond later. It's okay if today you're reacting and 3 months down the road, you can finally respond to something. That's what speaking about things looks like. Silence doesn't bring that. Truth in speaking up brings that. Healing will also help shift your voice from that reacting to reflecting and responding. And when you start to speak from a place of being healed, you no longer defend yourself. You begin to understand. So when we start healing, we also start understanding that challenges are a catalyst to our growth. And this is another thing on why Unzipped Lips is so huge for us. Because as we talk and we challenge ourselves and we reflect and we respond, we continue to grow. Healing doesn't happen overnight. Growth doesn't happen overnight. But as you grow, you start to understand that you need to find challenges. You stop waiting for life to hand them to you, because the ones life wants to hand you, let's be real, those are not ones we like. But the ones that we seek out ourselves, and we are allowing ourselves to move forward, and we're allowing ourselves to be challenged so we can have growth and healing at a deeper and deeper level, those ones we start to like and we seek out. Because honestly, when we're challenged and we can reflect and become self-aware, The more self-aware we become, the easier challenges are that approach us, and the easier the challenges that life throws at us. It just makes life easier when we can come from a place of responding and speaking truth and healing. It all comes together in one big package. It is not actually separate. You actually have to have all of them in order to have growth and to have healing. You need to speak up. You need to be challenged. You need reflection. You need growth. You need all of it. Because if someone's gonna sit here and tell you, oh, just, speak a truth and move on. No. Yeah, speak a truth. It helps you heal a little. But growth comes from also like challenging the narratives you're telling yourself. Because even though you're speaking your truth, doesn't mean you're speaking the correct narratives too. You can tell the truth of a story and the narrative you're telling yourself are completely two different things. I was horrifically abused for a very long time. And I was believing a narrative that I inflicted it upon myself, that I was the reason that I had been abused by somebody else and their actions were my fault. Speaking my truth allowed me to see clearly the narrative was wrong. The story happened. My past is my past. It's nothing but a story. But I couldn't get out of that storybook until I spoke it and was able to close it. And when you're being challenged and seeing where your story is in the narrative, when you're being challenged, you see where your unhealed wounds are. So you can start working on that. Discomfort is the doorway to healing, because being comfortable doesn't allow growth, it doesn't allow healing. So my question is how are you viewing challenges? Do you see them as an attack or as an invitation for growth and healing? So challenges are not the enemy. Challenges are nothing but a mirror. And allow Unzipped Lips to hold that mirror. Because this is going to challenge me just as much as it's going to challenge you. I'm going to have comments all the time that I'm going to have to read and respond to. And let's be honest, they're not always kind. So I need to respond from a place of healing and not keeping everything personal. So I challenge you, as I'm challenging myself, to allow Unzipped Lips to be a place of healing. Because no topic is off limits except for politics. We're not going to go down that road. But we are going to talk about challenging subjects: identity, crisis, abuse, speaking a truth, mentalities that we keep. Like, I don't know, build or rebuild. What's the difference in the mentality? Identity, brave, survivor, warrior, victim. What does all of those mean when you hold on to those mentalities? These are just a few examples of things that I want to talk about and potentially give you a completely different mindset, a different opportunity, something else that you may be able to latch onto that's going to help you into the next phase of your life. Because when we don't talk, we don't see other perspectives, other opinions, other thought processes that may actually benefit us. So speaking here is going to just give you another thing that may help you. If it doesn't, that's okay. But allow it to challenge you. Do you believe and understand where I'm coming from? Does it help you stand grounded where you're at? Does it help show a different perspective that might help you grow into a new one? Or are you reacting and you need to figure out the wounds that you need to heal? All of these are going to be hard conversations. But I invite you to get uncomfortable so you can have growth. and have an opportunity for a different life, healing. So again, Unzipped Lips is about speaking your truth, speaking up, having a voice again, getting challenged, finding healing, and finding growth. That is the mission for Unzipped Lips, is to bring that to you. And I leave you with this today. This is a space to speak out against silence, to unzip the past, unpack the pain, and build something real. You are not too much. You do matter. Your truth matters. And I'm excited to have you here. You're welcome to check me out at buildyou.us. See what I have to offer for you. Check me out. And then also don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share with a friend. I'm excited to continue doing this journey with you and share my journey with you, as it has not ended. We'll see you in the next episode.